Now, I'm going to say a name that might trigger you, and I don't want to trigger you, but I'm just going to bring it up because it's in the news. It's not. I didn't do anything. But Vince Russo did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and one of the things that Vince Russo said, and I'm led to believe this was a serious statement with no sense of irony or tongue in cheek. Vince Russo said his biggest regret in wrestling is that he didn't push the envelope far enough. What say you?
He said that so that people would talk about him again. I mean, we've just spent a few minutes, or maybe at least a minute, or maybe 30 seconds, praising, fulsome praise for Vince Russo and what he brought to the WWF during the Kane and Undertaker storyline saga of 97, 98, 99. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to try and play down what he brought to WWF then. Lots of people in WWF stroke WWE have done ever since he left in 99. But I thought he was a huge part of the success of the company during that period from 97 through to 99. He was. I don't think that can
Mm-hmm.
be disputed. But as far as him saying that they didn't push the envelope far enough, I mean, they did some pretty extreme things, as we recall. And even though the ratings were enormous, they were still only TV 14, and there was only certain things they could do. Otherwise, they would have risked being thrown off the air. I mean, that's the way it is in TV. So, I mean, and on pay-per-view, I think they did more than they did on TV because the rules were more lax. I mean, was there really anything else they needed to do? I mean, when you got, and I also think, there's a lot of people look back on the Attitude Era as being this golden period for the company, and it was, obviously, in terms of finances and in terms of reaching a new audience, and it's very fondly remembered. But a lot of it was very, very poor. A lot of it was garbage. It was trash. It was dreck. It was trash TV. And I always think that if they'd been allowed to do even more than what they did, what might they have foisted upon an unsuspecting audience? I just dread to think if they'd had the freedom to push the envelope even further, as Vince Russo is now saying he wished they could have done during that period, what might they have subjected us to, Kenny? I mean, the mind boggles, doesn't it?
They might. If you're listening, we've got a lovely image of Bray Wyatt with a baby with Vince Russo's head on it. Congratulations, it's a swerve. The thing that's weird about Russo is that so sometimes if you're listening to like a band or like a singer or you're watching an actor in a movie, I often think about like if I was in that position, would I would like to think I'd have the foresight to go, okay, I've got really good creative ideas, and then when they start running out and I just don't think it's working anymore, to just kind of call it quits and still let the body of work that I did that was really good speak for itself. You know,
Yeah.
like for example, I'm not saying that this is just the example that's come to mind. I'm not saying that this band are by any stretch of the imagination one of the greatest bands ever at all, right? But say you look at like Bon Jovi, right? Bon Jovi had this massive career in the 80s and the 90s up to maybe 2000, right? And
Yeah.
then after 2000, it started to just dip a little bit. But they still bring out new music all the time, and it's garbage. It is horrible music, and it's never going to be what they did back in the day. So, I mean, but luckily they still go and play the greatest hits all the time. With Vince Russo, it's like why he is not doing a podcast with Conrad Thompson where he kind of goes, I'm just going to talk about everything, be truthful. Look at Eric Bischoff. I mean, I'm not saying Bischoff is 100% truthful all the time, but he's making good money, revisiting his good days and his bad days and everything in between, and just kind of letting it be out there. But Vince Russo is still on these platforms going, if I was booking Raw today, it would be so good. And it's like, you had 3 good years and then you had 15 bad years.